Junction box volume check.
Just hang on for a quick second, just let me know if you can hear him.
Good morning, welcome to Teesside Karting. The time is 8:16. Welcome to the breakfast show. We are just about to get our race day underway. Two-stroke Heat 2 rerun from round 7 is out on track. That's right, we are restarting today's race day with the culmination of round number 7. We'll start with a rerun of two-stroke Heat 2. Issues for a number of drivers in that heat with their transponders not picking up as they go over the line. That's the little box on each kart that tells the race control where everybody is on circuit, their lap times and their positions. Max Prentice on the outside of the front row there was a driver going over the grass as they get themselves ready to get underway in this Heat 2. Inside of the front row should be Daniel Kell, but it looks like he might have dropped away, so it looks like everybody now just getting themselves into position after the original false start to get this race day underway. Number 44 on the inside of the second row is Andy Ambrose, our current championship leader. Somewhat fortunate with this rerun as he retired on the opening lap of the original race. His chain coming off the kart on the way into hairpin number 3, meaning he picked up no points. But as the rerun gets itself underway, the green flag flies and it looks like it could be the yellow helmet of Ficini. Leads with the number 4, splashing through the puddles, up and over the curbs. Ficini up and over, he looks like that could be his race done. Onto the grass and well outside, got a good bit of air there, Ficini. Yellow flags out. The driver already stopped on the inside. Ficini there sat stationary on the outside of hairpin 1 after quite a big moment on the opening lap. That's the 33 of Prentice, he's out as well. His kart dragged off at the start line, so looks like he didn't make it even round the first lap. So we follow the 77 of, looks like that's Jude Cole in the 77, going through the chicane at the end of his first lap. So Cole leads. Round the National League corner for Cole. Ambrose in second, Bowker third, Swan fourth. Young is 5th, Reed 7th. Parker 8th, Stephen Kell 9th, Puccini shown as, sorry, Kell in 9th, Puccini shown in 9th, but he's retired and out of the way. Another driver missing as well is one of our championship challengers, Dan Kell. He should have started on the pole position berth on the inside of the front row, and it looked like he pulled up on the rolling lap. As Ambrose looks to make his way down the inside and does to go into the lead. Cole will battle back, but it's Ambrose and he's away now. Andy Ambrose, your championship leader, leads the rerun of Heat 2. 8 remaining in this 10-lap race. Once this is done, we will then move on to the start of our Bambino Heat 3 from round 7. We'll then have our finals. Round 8 will start at around about 10:30, all being well. A little bit later on with our qualifying session for that, we will then pick up racing. Once that is done, that will be on the link for round 8. So if you're watching either by the Teesside Facebook page, good morning. Also, if you're via the YouTube, have a look for the link for round 8, which will be on the Alpha Live page, so that you don't miss anything. Ambrose coming round now. He's pulled out a lead now of a couple of seconds from Cole in second. Bowker runs third. Ambrose, your leader, is off and into the tyre wall on the start straight. Can he get it going again?
Fucking shout, Dave.
Ambrose, that looks like his race could be done. Can't get any movement. Can he get out and drag that one back into place? But it's steaming at the back end. Your championship leader is out of race number 2. A reprieve somewhat as well for Daniel Kell. Also picking up no points. Drivers dropping now. That's 2 out on the start straight. Ambrose goes to take a seat with Prentice up on the bank to watch the remainder of heat number 2 as Duke Cole returns to the front of the pack from Bowker and Swan. We follow Duke Cole round out of hairpin 4 through the 2 sweeping bends and over the start line. So it's Cole from Bowker and Swan. Young is in 4th, Parker 5th, Reed 6th, Kell 7th. Ambrose shown as 8th but is out following his emphatic spin on the start line. Another driver off in the background there, struggling with the wet conditions here at Teesside, although probably not as wet as they were last time out. But we start straight with racing rather than having a practice session. Doesn't give drivers much opportunity to familiarise themselves with these weather conditions before going out onto the circuit. 2 laps they got at the start to ensure their transponders were all under control. So we follow the 90 of Stephen Kell round the National Loop corner.
There should be a screen for Dave.
Cole leads at half race distance.
Hello.
Swan is up to 2nd, Bowker drops to 3rd, now down to 4th, so it looks like Bowker has had a spin off track. Parker is into the pit, so that will move Stephen Kell up to 7th.
Nicky, can you hear me?
Very shortly.
Nicky, can you hear
Down
me?
the back straight and into the south bank corner goes your Heat 2 leader, Jude Cole, splashing his way through the puddles. Weather forecast here for Middlesbrough for the rest of the day suggests that we're going to have similar conditions to what you can see on your screen until around about midday, and then it's going to ease up and provide us with a much drier afternoon, and then tomorrow looks glorious in comparison to what we've got here today on screen. So we've got 2 days of racing for you here, live from the Teesside Autodrome in Middlesbrough. As we see Paul Swan in the background there, getting himself sideways over the start line as he tries to close down the gap to Jude Cole at the front of the pack, but Cole is well out of the way. 14.5 seconds is the gap for your race leader Cole from Swan. William Young, Tom Reeve Stephen Kell and Zach Bowker. 6 remaining runners of the 10 that were out there off the dummy grid at the start. Retirements in Adam Parker in the pits, Andy Ambrose, Ben Ficini and Max Prentice. The driver, the 89 of Daniel Kell, not making the start. Looked like he slowed up somewhere on the back straight. On the rolling lap on the way round. We have just over 2.5 laps remaining for Jude Cole in the number 77 as he comes round to put a lap on one of our drivers. Goes round the outside using the familiar wet line. Round the outside, gets some grip and accelerates down the back straight and into the banked south bank loop corner at the bottom of the circuit and heads sliding round the back end there as he goes into hairpin 3. Working the steering wheel, fighting against the weather conditions. Comes through the splashes his way through the puddle there on the inside. Not as much standing water as there was at the start of the original round 7. Doesn't mean the weather conditions out there are any nicer for our drivers, especially going through them chicanes always. You can see the amount of water and steam coming off the back of that road tax cart of the 77 of Cole. Looks like we have another driver. Looks like Stephen Kell might have gone off at the top end of the circuit. Cole will just come up to meet him. It looked like he went quite wide. He was pulling his cart back onto the circuit from high up on that south bank corner. You've got to go some to get yourself up off the track at that end of the track with the corner being banked and into the gravel section. So as our leader Cole comes down the inside of the 90 of Kell. Still we have 6 remaining runners, quickly 5 now. It looks like Zach Bowker is dropped away with, he's now 5 laps down. He's stopped somewhere either out on circuit or coming to the pits, but as the final lap is begun by our leader, number 77, Jude Cole. A faultless race so far for the 77. Round hairpin 2, he has half a lap. As he comes round, this will be Cole's first outright win of the season. Great start by him to his race day. Number of leaders in this one. Ficini, your early pace setter, out on lap 1. Ambrose took over the lead from there. He was out on lap 2 and a spin into the barrier on the start straight. But as the 77 comes through, the opening race of the day is won by the 77 of Jude Cole. Takes the checkered flag and a great result for the young man. We have to wait now for the 52 of Paul Swan to come through in a few moments. He's out of hairpin 2. He's going to come over the line in a few moments to take the checkered flag and the second place for Swan. We now wait for Young to come through, and he does. So it's a win for Jude Cole from Paul Swan and William Young. Credit to all our drivers there that finished in some fairly poor weather conditions. Our Bambinos will be out very, very shortly, the youngest of our drivers, but we have a recovery mission on our hands. The quad out now to collect a number of carts from the circuit, at least 2 stationary on the start straight. So a little bit of work for our marshals to do early on in the day to get this everything under control here at Teesside Autodrome. Drivers pushing their carts just to the edge of the circuit as the quad comes to collect those. The driver in the red there to the right of the screen is Max Prentice.
Oh, great.
Watch our drivers come over the weighbridge. We'll be back in a few moments with the first of our 3rd heats. And that will start, as always, with the Bambinos. We'll then move on to Junior Pro Karts Cadets. Back then with 2 strokes and then Senior Pro Kart Heat 3. A number of championships up for grabs this weekend at the final weekend of the Teesside season. Round 7.5 at the moment. We'll then move on to round 8. Round 9 will be tomorrow. 5 outright championships, or 6 outright championships, sorry, with the 2-stroke class to go through some sub-championships as well in Clubman and at 40s in our senior pro kart class. Join us in a few moments for round number 7.5. It will be Bambino Heat 3. Welcome back to a wet Teesside Autodrome for the culmination of round number 7. Our 2-stroke opening race has been underway and it was filled with drama. Number of drivers getting into trouble throughout the race. We had issues for both our 2 championship protagonists, Andy Ambrose and Daniel Kell. Kell not making the start, Ambrose not getting much further, out on lap 2 as he spun, coming through the final sequence of corners on the start straight. For the drivers running into trouble, Max Prentice and our own pace setter Ben Ficini taking a very wide line over the chicane, getting a fair amount of air and then ending up on the outside of hairpin 1. Coming up very, very shortly will be our Bambino class. As you can see, the weather conditions once again not really suited to motorsports, but nonetheless we will carry on regardless, and the weather conditions certainly forecast to improve as the day goes on, so we can only hope for a much better afternoon as round 8 comes very shortly after round number 7. Bambinos will be out in a few moments there, currently lining up on the dummy grid. So drivers that were signed on for the original round 7 are only allowed to partake in the remaining heat. So drivers out during round number 8 that weren't signed on for round 7. And we will pick those out as the day goes forwards. Bambinos very, very shortly. Keep an eye out for your championship front runners. The number 22 of Thomas Potter and the number 44 of Edward Haynes, the front 2 in the championship, along with the number 7 of Scarlett Dunn. Number 6 of Jacob Richardson missing from this meeting, so he will drop 7 of Scarlett Dunn. Number 6 of Jacob Richardson missing from this meeting, so he will drop away in terms of his championship score. Pick up no further points for round 7 at the very least, which all but ends his championship challenge now for the season, as Thomas Potter and Edward Haynes are out in front, and Jacob would have needed almost maximum scores to put a dint into both of their 2 championship challenge. We have our Bambinos out on track. On screen, the number 8 of Harrison Dunn made his debut at the original round 7. Did superbly in those terrible weather conditions. Number 7 will be your pole sitter. double heat winner from last time, Scarlett Dunn, goes very, very well in the wet, so the expectation will be that she will lead away and there'll be a fair charge from her to take another heat win and set herself up for the final later on in the day. See if she can effectively clean sweep the weekend, although split over 2 separate days. And follow the 7 have done round. In the background now is the green helmeted championship leader, number 22, Thomas Potter. Drivers getting one additional lap warm up to get themselves round. It just ensures that all their transponders are working. So for those of you that may be tuning in for the first time or not that familiar with motorsport, all of karts and cars on circuit racing have a transponder on them. Every time they go over the start line, it registers the time that each kart has done. As Potter spins on the opening tour onto the back straight, so getting himself familiar with the conditions, pushing to see what he can do in these wet weather conditions. Our Bambinos run an all-weather tyre, so they are grooved to an extent, but not like a full wet. So they're designed to displace some water, but they're certainly not as deep grooved as some of the wet tyres, especially if they've had a couple of laps on them already. So Bambinos will come round and stop on the start-finish straight. It's a standing start for our Bambino class, and it will be effectively one long lap for the entire time limit of their race, and it's a cumulative time. So whichever driver completes their number of laps in the fastest time will be deemed our winner. So the first driver over the line may not be the winner. When it comes to Bambinos, all of our drivers now coming round to take up their position on the grid. At the front of that grid will be the number 7 of Scarlett Dunn, our winner from last time out. She is in the red overalls and the clear waterproof oversuit in the number 7. Behind is the 22 of Thomas Potter, your current championship leader. Behind him will be the number 4 of Oliver Sibbald. We then have Edward Wright, number 66. Carts being lifted up to just make sure that there's sufficient temperature in the engine. 69 is Riley Upton-Young. Then we have Ollie Carter, Harrison Dunn, and number 44 of Edward Haynes appears to have peeled off into the pit lane. So unless he can get himself back out on track very, very shortly, there'll be no points for Edward Haynes in heat 3 of round number 7, which will count towards one of his drop scores. We have 9 rounds here in the Teesside Championship, 7 of which count towards the championship score for each of our drivers. So drivers can miss a couple of rounds, or if they've had some trouble and not picked up the results that they may have desired, it doesn't impede their championship too much. So 7 of 9 is the format here at Teesside. We have 8 cars currently out on the grid, although it looks like we could be having some problems with the number 8 of Harrison Dunn. So see what happens with him. We could end up down to 7. It looks like he's getting himself pushed back, and he will slot in at the back of the single file train. So we have 8 cars out on track. The 44 of Haynes is actually out there now on track. It's shown as into the pits, but he's definitely there, sat in 4th place. Dunn gets heat 2, heat number 3 for Bambinos underway. Going through the bus stop D chicane and round the National Loop corner for the first time. 8 minutes for our Bambinos, and we've mentioned a number of times throughout the season how important it is on this opening lap for drivers to get themselves quickly into a rhythm. It's going to be Scarlett Dunn, the first to feel out these conditions. Cones on the inside of hairpin 1, a lot of standing water there. Hopefully that'll get cleared off as the day continues. Conditions are scheduled to get a little bit better, although at the moment the rain has been continuous from around about 2 o'clock yesterday all through the night and this morning. The track marshals have worked superbly this morning to clear a number of puddles and standing water away towards the National Loop corner end of the circuit on the inside of the D chicane and the inside of the National Loop corner, with a lot of standing water there. And when we arrived this morning in the very, very early hours of darkness, to be met with some terrible conditions and puddles. Scarlett Dunn leads, and she will come over the line to set the first lap time, and it's a 1:16 for Dunn. It's also a 1:16, but it's a 16.5 for Potter. Sybil, though, with the fastest opening lap so far, at 1:15.983. So on track in third place is on track in third place, I think, is Sybil, but he is at the top of the timing sheets with an opening lap, a very, very fast opening lap as well, of 1:15 in this wet weather condition. From a standing start, expect that to drop below the 1:10 as the drivers come over, and they are moving now. 6 minutes of the session remaining as watch track leader Sybil go round the inside of the south bank corner in the wet weather conditions. So lap 1 is Sybil in the lead from Dunn, Potter, Haynes, Edward Rye, Riley Bumpton Young, Harrison Dunn and Ollie Carter. As we catch the 44. Edward Haynes going round the outside of hairpin 3. Staying off the inside line and getting as much grip as he can round the outside of those corners. Haynes very much in the mix for the championship here at Teesside. He's had a stellar second half of the season, really coming alive from round 5 onwards with his results. He's picked up a number of wins from then. Runs a little bit wide though round through the bus stop chicane, now taking a wide line as well, where all the grip should be round the outside of corners in wet weather conditions. Scarlett Dunn though has gone back to the front of the pack, just under 5 minutes remaining. So it's now Dunn from Sybil, Potter and Haynes in third and fourth, your two championship front runners, although Dunn picks up 2 more wins in this one, that'll put us off right back in the mix for the title here at Teesside, which will be decided any which way by tomorrow afternoon. The final 3 heats and the final championship coming up tomorrow, which you can find either via the Facebook page at Teesside Karting or on YouTube via Alpha Live.
44.
Follow the 44 now. Haynes either coming through 2 sweeping corners and over the start line. Harrison Dunn has pulled off into the pits. It did look like he was having some problems at the start on the start line. 2 laps in, he's ducked into the pit lane. So in a few moments, Ollie Carter will move up to 7th. Dunn leads from Sybil, Potter behind then Haynes, Rye, Bumpton Young, and it will be Carter in 7th. Dunn will shortly drop down to 8th, as he's shown as in the pit lane. Haynes doing incredibly well to find some grip out there, following himself around the outside. In a few moments we'll have Junior Pro Kart out, and hopefully the increased speed of those and their wet tyres will displace some of the water for us to clear the track up a little bit. That's 66 now of Edward Rye, taking a different line round the first hairpin, cutting into the inside of the puddle a little bit more. Down the back straight, as you can see there, against the background of the tyre wall, the rain continues to fall here at the Teesside Autodrome. Sybil goes back into 2nd place from Potter. Potter briefly moved himself up to 2nd as he came over the line. Sybil, within a few seconds, then retakes the lead in that battle. So Scarlett Dunn comfortably out at the front in the number 7 from the number 4, Oliver Sybil. Potter, Haynes, Rye, Bumpton Young and Carter does finally come through in 7th to drop Harrison Dunn down to 8th. He is in the pit lane now. Personal best that time round by your driver on screen, the number 66 of Edward Rye.
Cross start finish now, James. Cart number
69.
2 minutes remaining now. Standing water.
Okay, come back to 69. Whitehammer going around the first
Drivers doing very, very well to negotiate the conditions. 69 is Riley Upton Young. A relatively new car to him. I think he debuted that at round 7 last time out. He's had a few more outings in it. He's doing very, very well in the dry, in practice in that kart in the past. And then he'll dry himself off this afternoon. And tomorrow we can see the full pace of that number 69 car out on track. 1 minute 20 drivers have got 2 laps at best now to get themselves the best possible thing, but at the moment
getting a lot of background issues.
So 50 seconds remaining. It's the number 69 of Riley Buckton Young comes through. Personal best for him with a 1:18.862. Although fastest lap of the race set just a moment ago by Scarlett Dunn. If drivers set their personal best, it will go blue. If a driver sets the fastest lap of the race, it will go pink. And a wonderful 1:12 by Dunn. Really does enjoy the wet weather conditions. And she is now on her last lap, picking off drivers in front of her. And once again in this wet weather conditions, Scarlett Dunn has really shown a lot of skill. She showed it at the last round by taking 2 heat wins. It's going to be 3 from 3 if she can keep this up for another half a lap. Round the South Bank loop as we have, looks like it's the 66 of Ollie Carter spinning off onto the inside, and he's stationary now and beached on the grass. 2 sweeping bends and the checkered flag. 2 sweeping bends and the checkered flag. Looks to the left, sees the checkered flag waving. Scarlett Dunn wins Bambino heat number 3. With a healthy margin back now to Oliver Sibbald in the number 4. Thomas Potter is through and is shown as second, but we await Sibbald to come through, and there he does, goes back into second place on screen, and he really had closed right up onto the back of Thomas Potter in that one, so that was done very well there for Oliver Sibbald. So top 3, Scarlett Dunn, Oliver Sibbald and Thomas Potter. Edward Haynes shown as in the pit, so very shortly looks like we're going to have Harrison Dunn and Ollie Carter. So Dunn shown as taking the checkered flag, so could have got himself back out on track after his earlier problems. 2 drivers yet to take the checker are the 66 of Edward Rye and the 69 of Riley Buckton Young, as Riley does have a little spin on the outside there of hairpin number 3. Edward Rye will come through to take the checkered flag, and he moves up to 4th with Haynes in the pits. Buckton Young too will come through very, very shortly following that spin on the outside of 3. He'll come through and should move up into 5th place. He is over the line as well. So Bambino heat number 3 is won by Scarlett Dunn from Oliver Sibbald and Thomas Potter. Edward Rye. Haynes is still shown as 5th from Buckton Young in 6th. Harrison Dunn and Ollie Carter round out the 8 karts on the grid for Bambinos in Heat 3. Junior Pro karts are up next, and we have a fascinating battle at the head of the championship in that one. Aaron Alexander and Mason Barker. Alexander faring a lot better in the weather conditions at the last round compared to Barker. 2 wins for Alexander. Barker with a best of 5th in the first 2 heats. Gives puts Alexander into the driving seat in the championship there. Not much difference in terms of points from the first 6 rounds for those two, but then 11 more at the start in the first 2 races for Alexander at the last one. Alexander currently sat on 1,252 points, with Mason Barker sat on 1,209. So a bit of a gap there between the two of them, but it's 7 from 9 in terms of points scored. So we'll be back in a few moments. You see them now in the background for our junior pro karts. Talking. Talking. Yep. Then we are back with junior pro kart out on track as we see the 69 of Riley Buckton Young just going over the weighbridge, making sure he is up to the minimum weight for our Bambino class. Junior pro karts coming round to get themselves lined up. Standing start for junior pro kart. So we have 13 drivers out on track. They'll come round and they too will get 1 lap round to ensure that everything is working. We've started straight with a race day rather than a practice session, which is a custom here. So normally it's a practice session, qualifying, and then into the races, but as we are picking up the final few races of round number 7, which was postponed ironically due to wet weather conditions as the drivers splashed their way through the chicane, and round hairpin number 1 on the front row will be your championship leader on the inside, the number 38 of Aaron Alexander. Alongside him will be the number 24 of Jack Morris. Second row will be the 14 and 15. So the 14 is Kieran Lambert. On the outside of him, the 15 of Asher Blythe. Row number 3 will be Mason Barker and Owen Spears. We'll pick everybody else up as they come through. They'll be set off 2 by 2 to make their way to the grid. Aaron Alexander there in the white, orange and grey liveried number 38 will be your pole sitter. So he is on his way round. Inside berth for Alexander. Alongside him, the number 24 of Jack Morris. 14 is Kieran Lambert. 15, Aaron Alexander is Asher Blythe. Then we're going to have Owen Spears on the inside in 5th. Mason Barker is 6th. The 12 is Thomas Braid. 42, Jacob O'Connor is row number 4 in 7th and 8th. The 13, Callum Booth on the inside of the 68 of Ben Hogarth. We'll get ourselves underway in a few moments. Start line marshal having a few words with our pole sitter. Engine notes rise as the drivers prepare themselves for the first race of the day. Bouncing in the seat to try and get some traction. It's Alexander, slots into the lead. The 24 of Morris has no other option but to sit into the background. All our drivers have made it through that first corner. Barker, with a superb start from the 3rd row, is up to 4th already, and he's got some work to do though to try and close down our championship leader at the front, Aaron Alexander, as the drivers for the first time in race conditions make their way round the corner. Barker coming under pressure from the 14 of Lambert. Lambert gets a good drive but then is impeded by the 17 of Spears, who slides wide. If Spears wasn't on the track there, I have no doubt that Kieran Lambert would have got the drive and would have possibly got past Mason Barker down that back straight, but he gets the job done eventually on Owen Spears, and will now have another chance to try and get onto Barker. Barker in fourth, trying to close the gap on to Aaron Alexander. As he comes through, Alexander with the fastest opening lap of a 1 minute 1:4.53 to eke out a lead of 2 seconds almost from the 24 of Jack Morris. Asher Blythe is up to third, Barker fourth, Lambert fifth, Spears in sixth, Booth up from ninth into seventh. Hogarth, Ballesteros and Braid, your 10 drivers that were signed on for round number 7, which are returning for the remainder of this heat. Like I say earlier, we may see a few more drivers out this afternoon for round number 8. Alexander with a comfortable lead as he aims to add to the Shennington Junior Pro Kart Championship that he won a few weeks ago. The target for him is a double championship win, and as you can see on screen, he is well out in the lead. The gap previously was 1.9 seconds. Now it's 3.9 seconds. A superb opening 2 laps for Aaron Alexander in this inaugural Junior Pro Kart Championship, the first year that the championship has run to bridge the gap between the cadets and senior Pro Kart class, and certainly looking well on his way to add to the Shennington Championship that he won a few weeks ago. And he could potentially have this wrapped up by the final of round number 7 if he picks up maximum scores and Barker fails to pick up the points required. And even then it will be need Barker to score some maximums and Alexander to finish below his previous low score of 201. 215, the maximum number of points that drivers can pick up per race meeting here at Teesside. It's 50 points for a win and 65 for the final, if you pick up that, as we see the 61 of Mason Barker working incredibly hard and getting it sideways over the start-finish line as he comes under pressure from the number 17 of Owen Spears. Ballesteros and Hogarth move up to 7th and 8th respectively as Lambert in the 14 drops away down to 9th. Struggling in the weather conditions, Spears takes the inside line and briefly gets past Mason Barker. Barker takes the wide line, gets on the power a little bit earlier and gets some more traction. Both of those two drivers take her in differing lines, chopping and changing for that 4th place. In the background, we have Jacob O'Connor in the 42, although he's not shown up on the timing screen, so potential problems for him in his transponder, but he's on the back of this too. Barker comes through as your leader with 6 remaining. Alexander now has a 6-second lead. Barker going right round the outside. Spears cutting in to see if he can find a way past, but the traction on the outside for Mason Barker gives him the position. Ballesteros with the fastest lap. Braid with a 1:03, a fastest lap for him. Sees him get past Hogarth for 8th. There is our leader, Aaron Alexander, comfortably negotiating the puddles at round hairpin 3. Right now round hairpin 4. That's the favoured line around there. Cut back to the inside. Sideways there through the puddle, but he's always in control. He's always got quite a smooth driving style in terms of he throws that kart about, and he's got a lot of confidence in knowing that it's going to stick when he does so. Half race distance, the gap is 7.5 seconds back to Morris in 2nd. Blythe, a superb 3rd, is a couple of seconds back from Morris. The field spread out at least for the first 3 before the gap goes back then. Another 4 seconds to the 41 of Barker, coming under increasing pressure from the 17 of Spears. So you see it's the 68 of Hogarth. He's got 68 on the front of the car. He's shown on the timing screen as number 37, as the 24 of Jack Morris goes down the inside of Kieran Lambert in the 14. It was a good start for Lambert, but he's dropped away since. See number 24 of Morris slides his way through in the wet weather conditions. Does everybody a favour there and moves a bit of the water on that puddle off the track. The rain continuing to fall here at Teesside Autodrome for round number 7 of the NRG Cycles Owner-Driver Sprint Series. I certainly wouldn't like to be in the position that the 17 of Spears and the 42 of O'Connor are at the moment, getting some spray right off the back. Barker takes a very, very wide line, but takes a little bit too much and gets the wheel on the grass. That was the break that Owen Spears needed to get himself past Mason Barker. The wet lining is always generally round the outside, but if you go too far around the outside and drop a wheel on the grass, there's certainly no traction out there. So it's Owen Spears up to 4th, Barker down to 5th, Booth 6th. Goes past the inside, and that's the 42 of O'Connor. And problems for O'Connor. The left front wheel departs itself from the number 42. 3 wheels on the wagon. It was wobbling around. It looked like there was a hub failure at some point there, and then the wheel ejects itself from the front of the number 42. And he was running incredibly well on the back of the 17 and the 41, keeping pace. And as we mentioned earlier, looked like his transponder wasn't working, but he was certainly keeping pace with Spears and Barker in the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. And he's unfortunately dropped away. The yellow flag out at hairpin number 4 removes an overtaking opportunity for our drivers. That car is stationary and certainly won't be moving with 3 wheels on it. Alexander leads from Morris, 8.2 seconds now is the gap back to our second place driver. There is the 68 of Hogarth, currently runs in 9th. On the screen, Kieran Lambert in the 14 has thrown the towel in to heat number 3 and has pitted. So we have 9 remaining runners, led by that man there on screen, the number 38, Aaron Alexander, last year's cadet champion here at Teesside Karting, and looks well on his way to be adding another championship to his long list of karting achievements. He has just over 1 lap remaining as we follow the 19 of Sandro Ballesteros. Opposite lock almost all the way round the National Loop corner for Ballesteros. Rallycross style round that corner in these wet weather conditions. Drivers splashing their way through numerous puddles here at Teesside Karting, but I think as long as we keep running, we're not going to get the conditions in terms of standing water aren't going to get any worse. And the weather forecast for this afternoon considerably better than what it has been for the last 24 hours. The weather radar shows a huge patch of rain working its way down the country. It was the top end of that was at Edinburgh this morning. Now it's a lot further. It's probably around halfway to Middlesbrough now. But as we come through the final few corners, the checkered flag waves for Aaron Alexander. 3 from 3. And now I think it's all it takes is going to be a final win for him in around about an hour's time, and that will secure the 2019 Junior Pro Kart Championship for him. A superb 3rd over the line for Asher Blythe, and he's very, very happy with that. Last lap change though, Barker drops to 6th behind Booth. So in the battle for the championship, Alexander wins, Barker down in 6th. So the result for Junior Pro Kart Heat 3, Aaron Alexander is your winner from Jack Morris and Asher Blythe. Owen Spears is 4th, Callum Booth 5th, Mason Barker in 6th, Thomas Braid, Sandro Ballesteros, Benjamin Hogarth and Kieran Lambert. One driver not on the screen, but certainly out there, was the number 42 of Jacob O'Connor. His car, unfortunately, departing with a wheel on the outside of hairpin number 4, robbing him of quite possibly his best result of the season, running up towards the top 6. And, as we see our drivers come off the circuit, the quad is out, and I imagine that driver will be very, very busy today if the first 2 or 3 races are anything to go by. We have a few moments and we have our cadets out very shortly. Not sure how many of those will be returning from heat from the original round number 7, but certainly a bumper grid booked on for round number 8 later in the day. Well over 20 drivers booked on in cadet later on, so we look forward to a bumper grid for those at around about 10:30, when we will be back on the round number 8 link for our qualifying session, and then we'll run straight through into our race day. So if you are watching via YouTube on Alpha Live, seek out the link for round number 8, because we'll be switching over there later on at the end of round number 7. If you're with us on the Teesside Karting Facebook page, the round number 8 will come live later on. But as always, remember in any case to like the Teesside Karting Facebook page and enable all the notifications on there so that you don't miss anything that the circuit wishes to let you know about. If you're with us on the YouTube page, ensure that you press the subscribe button, press the bell icon to stay notified with everything that's happening with Alpha Live. There's plenty happening, especially today and tomorrow on Alpha Live. Not only here at Teesside Karting, but also the Birkett 6-hour relay at Silverstone will be covered by Alpha Live, and tomorrow there's more karting on there from here at Teesside Karting for the final round, which is round number 9. We in the background, our cadets are out onto the track as the recovery quad makes its final exit from the circuit with the number 42 of Jacob O'Connor on the back of it. Hopefully they can get that hub sorted. It'll either be a hub or a wheel bearing on the front end of that cart, and we will see him out later on in the day for the end of round number 7. Cadets are now out on track. At the front there in the multicoloured cart on the inside, the number 66, your championship leader and champion-elect Oliver Buckton. Alongside him on the front row will be the number 11 of Gracie Mitchell. Row 2 will also be made up by 2 of our female drivers, Bella Franklin and Catherine Potter. So we'll run through the full grid of drivers that are returning for heat number 3 of round 7 as they grid up very, very shortly. And Oliver Buckton just needs to ensure that he scores points in the 3rd heat and 4 in the final. And then we will be back in a few moments and we will talk through the grid. Welcome back to round number 7 of the NRG Cycles Owner-Driver Sprint Series here at Teesside Karting. Cadet Heat 3 are getting ready to line up. On the inside, the pole sitter number 66 of Oliver Buckton, alongside him the number 11 of Gracie Mitchell. Row number 2 will see Bella Franklin on the inside of Catherine Potter. We will then just waiting to see which drivers are called forward next. Drivers only signed on for round 7 are allowed to participate in the remaining heats of the previously abandoned round number 7. So any drivers missing their grid place, everybody moves up a place, and we just need to make sure that everybody is where they need to be. So your front 2 rows, the 66 championship leader Buckton on the inside of the number 11 of Gracie Mitchell. The 08 cart on the inside of row 2 is Bella Franklin. 20 is Catherine Potter. All 4 of those drivers mathematically can win the championship, but Buckton really is in pole position, as the driver that was second in the championship, Alex Mallard, has elected not to participate in the remainder of this season. We'll talk about the reasons why that is later in the day, as we see the 18 of Max Shields come through to sit in 5th. 37 is Jack Thompson. A bit of confusion as to where our drivers need to be, and it looks like we could try and might need to get this all sorted. Let's have a wait to see who comes forward to take up position number 7. Confusion caused obviously by a number of drivers not being here or electing not to run in the remainder of round number 7. Come through outside there, stopping is the 50 of Lizzie Mentier. The 81 is Ethan Girling on the inside. 88 Isabella Stanmore Wilson. The 16 with the orange helmet is David Mack. 52 is Sebastian Corking. 42 Leon Barlow. 67 is Oliver Meek. The O plate on the outside is Ollie Poole. The final row, the 23 and the 14, Finley Fishburne on the outside, Charlie Wyatt on the inside. Marshall with the green flag in the air. Green flag's down. A superb start on the outside by Gracie Mitchell. Slots into the lead. Lightning fast start by the number 11. Leads into the first corner. Oliver Buckton has to settle for second at the moment with Bella Franklin, as we have Izzy Stanmore Wilson round at the outside of the first corner. A driver who performed superbly in the wet weather conditions last time. And that is not a good start to heat number 3 for Isabella Stanmore Wilson. So the 2 leaders have broken a little bit of a gap. Buckton trying to go right round the outside of the 11 of Gracie Mitchell. Can't do it, and that closes the gap up to the number 8 of Bella Franklin. So Mitchell leads after a superb start from the outside of the front row. As they come over the line, Mitchell from Buckton, Franklin, Shields is up to 4th, Potter down to 5th, Mack 6th, Thompson 7th, Wyatt from the back row up to 8th already. A superb start for the number 23. Mentier 9th, Corking is 10th, Girling 11th, Poole 12th, Fishburne is 13th, Meek 14th, Stanmore Wilson 15th. So 15 drivers that were signed on for round number 7 are back for the couple of heats that we have remaining. Buckton tries to go right round the outside and does. Superb grip by the number 66, and Buckton goes through into the lead of heat number 3. So Buckton well on his way now to the championship here in the extreme cadet class. 2 classes for our cadets. We have 200 extreme and 160 cadets. Buckton, your championship leader in the extreme class. Championship leader in the 160 class is the O plate of Ollie Poole. He will be shown on your screen as number 4, but the cart he's running does have the O plate on that he won here earlier in the year, back at the O plate meeting, which was in December. As we see the 20 of Catherine Potter goes to the inside of Max Shields and takes 3rd place. Shields will look then to cut back into the inside. Both of them need to be aware that in the background is the very predatory looking 23 of Charlie Wyatt from the back row, up to 5th already, with only 2 laps gone of our cadet class. And I think he will be within half a lap. He'll be well onto the back of those two. Whether either of them see him coming with the pace that he's shown so far today, I'm not so sure. But Buckton is now comfortably out in the lead, having got past Gracie Mitchell round the South Bank corner on lap number 2. Buckton leads. Mack, who was running up towards the top 5 or 6, has dropped away down to 16th, but his recovery drive sees him set a personal best, but he's 16 seconds down now. Looks like he may have had a spin. Isabella Stanmore-Wilson back up to 12th after a tough start for her. Contact on the opening corner, turning her into a spin. So it's Oliver Buckton comfortably leads heat number 3 by 1.3 seconds from Mitchell, Potter, and then Wyatt. So we follow a battle headed by the 7th place Lizzie Mentier in the 50. A little bit of side-on-side contact there, the 37 of Thompson and 52 of Corking. Exchanging a little bit of side pod as they come through the sweeping corners that end the lap here. Charlie Wyatt's charge seems to have slowed a little bit as he's come up onto the back of Potter and Shields. Buckton, though, ekes out another 4/10 at the head of the field as we reach half race distance in our cadet class. The 52 of Sebastian Corking closing the gap onto the back of Jack Thompson. Thompson, one of our drivers racing with a 160 engine. Other drivers in our 160 class to keep an eye out for. 10th place Ollie Poole and 15th place Oliver Meek. So no changes at the very least for the top 5. The battle coming though between the 37 and 52 on screen plays into the hands of some other drivers. Bella Franklin has dropped away from her 3rd place and now runs in 8th, looking to recover and work her way past. She's just got past the O plate of Ollie Poole. We'll have to try now to look to displace others as there is a yellow flag out on the start straight, so it looks like somebody could have gone off at the bus stop chicane. As the 52 of Barlow slots back into behind the 52 of Corking. Franklin trying to close the gap onto the back of those two, currently runs in 9th. We have a driver off on the start finish line. Can't quite see the number of that car, but we certainly have a driver off and the yellow flag is waved. It's the 81 of Ethan Girling. Has come off on the start straight. You see the yellow flag there being waved on screen as Ollie Poole has got past Bella Franklin again. Runs up in 9th. So the wet weather conditions catching out the 81 of Girling, and he retires from heat number 3. So out at the head of the field at the moment, comfortably as well, is your race leader, Oliver Buckton. He will be he's your championship leader as well, and will have a very, very short run now. 3 laps remaining in this cadet class. He will come through. That's, well, no, we'll actually run 8 laps rather than 10, so he'll be through and should start his last lap very, very shortly. And leads by just under 2 seconds from Gracie Mitchell and Catherine Potter. Max Shields 4th, Charlie Wyatt 5th, Mentier is 6th, Sebastian Corking in 7th, Ollie Poole 8th, Bella Franklin in 9th, Isabella Stanmore-Wilson in 10th, Jack Thompson is 11th, David Mack 12th, Finlay Fishburn 13th, 14th is Oliver Meek, 15th is Ethan Girling, although he is out of the race so far, so 14 runners remain. Last lap, drivers coming through, the 42 of Leon Barlow. Oliver Meek is up to 13th, Fishburn drops to 14th. And Buckton comes through off camera to win heat number 3 and set a fastest lap of the race in the process. Mitchell is second, Potter third, Shields is fourth, Wyatt fifth, Mentier is sixth. So maximum points again in that one for Oliver Buckton. His nearest championship challenger that is out there is David Mack, and he is down in 12th place. So a huge points haul over his championship rivals for Oliver Buckton. Catherine Potter, Bella Franklin, other drivers that are still really in with a mix. Gracie Mitchell, as we mentioned earlier, is mathematically in with a shout, but it would require Buckton to retire and not finish any of the subsequent races for her to get herself to the top of the championship table. And unfortunately the 9th place finish for Bella Franklin will also likely see the end of her championship challenge for the Teesside 200 class. Although congratulations to her on taking the Shennington Championship a few weeks ago in the Cadet 200 class. On screen, the 23 of Charlie Wyatt, a superb race for him, coming through from the back of the grid to finish in 5th place. So, just to give everybody a quick update on where the championship stands in terms of our cadet drivers. Should Oliver Buckton come through and win the final of heat of round number 7, that will crown him as our 2019 cadet champion, as will the same result will be for Aaron Alexander should he win the final of round number 7, which will take place in around about 45 minutes for the junior pro karts and around about an hour for our cadets once we get through all our cycle. In the background, you've seen them once already today, but it will be our 2-stroke class, and we'll watch as they come round, see if everybody that that retired from that first heat is back out on track. On the front row will be the number 77, your winner last time out, Jude Cole. As before, our 2-stroke class have a rolling start, so all the drivers will line up 2 by 2, come round and then take the checkered flag. So there, on the inside is Jude Cole. On the outside, the number 52 of Paul Swan in that bright yellow oversuit that he's got, and that, in all honesty, is a commentator's dream. You certainly can't miss him out there in that colour. Behind them will be the 22 of Tom Reeve, and looks like we've also got the 92 of William Young on the second row, so they'll come through. The green flag looked like it stayed down there, and let's see if we get a false start alert. Doesn't look like we have, and it's Paul Swan takes an early lead from Jude Cole as the drivers feel their way through. 44 is Andy Ambrose, a retiree last time out, but he is certainly back out as Jude Cole goes down the inside of Paul Swan to retake the lead of heat number 3. So Cole to the inside, Swan taking a slightly wider line as they go round the South Bank loop for the first time. 22 of Reeve coming under pressure by the 41 of Zach Bowker. And he's through, so as they come through the first time round, it will be Jude Cole over the line from Paul Swan. The 92 of William Young, Bowker, Prentice, Reeve, Vicini, Ambrose, Kell, Stephen Kell and Parker. Ambrose and Kell in 8th and 9th. Those two in an intense championship battle for our 2-stroke class. Max Prentice goes to the inside of the 41 of Bowker. Bowker in turn goes to the inside of the 42 of Swan. So Zach Bowker is up second, although he bogs down on the way out the corner, and the 33 of Max Prentice goes down the inside. So Prentice now in second place and looking to see if he can close that gap on current leader Jude Cole. So Cole will come through over the line in the lead. The gap before back to Swan was 2 seconds. This time it will be a gap back to Prentice. The gap is 3.8 seconds. So Cole with a comfortable lead, but as we've seen in the past, Max Prentice in the number 33, a very, very quick driver. And we will see whether he can get himself up, as we have, it looks like the spin there for Max Prentice in the 33 on the outside. Just picked it up as the camera panned round and managed to pick up the red suit. It was Prentice spun on the outside. The 89 of Kell goes to the inside. Round the bottom corner of the number 22 of Tom Reeve. Well, it's not actually, that's the 92 on the front and rear number panels of, looks like William Young, as Prentice comes back to the inside and looks to close the gap. Kell sideways through the corner, keeps it emphatically in a straight line. He's up to third already. Swan is fourth, Young fifth, Prentice sixth, Ambrose is in seventh. Though Ambrose with a points advantage over Kell, just could really do with taking the checkered flag this time out. Both of them not getting to see it in our second heat. Prentice back and chops to the inside of the 52 of Swan. That should move him up into fourth. Cole, though, now well out again into the lead and had that reprieve with Prentice spinning off as he came through the chicane section, as he was looking to close down the gap to the leader. So as it stands, Cole well on his way to another heat win. So it's Cole, Bowker, Kell, Prentice, Swan, Young, Ambrose in seventh, Vicini in eighth, Reeve is ninth, Stephen Kell that is, in the 90 is 10th, Adam Parker in 11th. A few more drivers signed on for this afternoon's meeting, which will start with qualifying at around about 10:30, all being well, although probably going to be a little bit later, as we did start around 15 minutes after the original start time was due, with some track clearance work and the fact that it was probably a little bit too dark to actually run at 8 o'clock, but we got everybody out as fast as we could onto track, as a move has taken place over the start line, which sees Dan Kell move up to second, but he's got 8.5 second gap to try and close on Jude Cole in 5 laps. So it's going to take something special for the 89 of Daniel Kell to come through. Prentice is fourth, trying to close in on the 41 of Zach Bowker, and he will cut to the inside again, which is a favoured move, and he does. Gets a good drive out, but then Bowker, his kart seems to pick up after a few kart lengths and does just enough to hold back the 33 of Max Prentice, but could only be a matter of time as Prentice slides his way through, trying to use different lines to find his way past the 41. Rain continuing to fall here at the Teesside Autodrome for round number 7, the end of which will be followed by round 8's qualifying in about an hour and a half's time. So seek out the link for that one to make sure you don't miss any of it. We are here with you all day, and we can only hope that the rain ceases at some point. Give us some dry weather racing. Tomorrow's weather conditions certainly seem to be a lot better, as Prentice does finally get to the inside of Bowker. Bowker, though, with a bit more pace, but in the end has to yield to the inside line of Prentice. The gap for the lead has closed ever so slightly. It's down to 7.8 seconds now, but 6/10 a lap is not going to be enough for Daniel Kell to close that gap before the checkered flag flies in 3 laps time. Although a fastest lap for him over the line with a 53.258 will close the gap even more to Cole. 6.5 seconds now. But Cole just needs to keep it facing in the right direction and not take any risks, and it will be a second heat win of the day for Jude Cole as he tries to close the gap onto Max Prentice in their battle for the championship that's going to take place in this one. But the gap to Prentice is well, Prentice is most likely going to end up dropping this round, having retired from the previous heat. So we'll have to see, but it's certainly not doing Cole any harm at all, clocking in these laps and getting the points on the board. Certainly close the championship up no end. I think after this heat it could be somewhere and around about the 30-point mark for Jude Cole, and that's a lot closer than what he was at the start of the day. Oh, a spin in the background there as Prentice goes down the inside. Not sure who our spinner was. Certainly somebody with a Tony Kart livery, and there's only a couple of those of them out there. One of them is the 77 of Cole, and he's just come through, so it certainly wasn't him. The 89 of Kell comes through, and the gap has closed a lot for Max Prentice. He is up to 3rd on track, 2nd in class, and as the last lap board is out, he is all over the back of the number 89 of Daniel Kell. Kell taking a lot more care through the chicane. Knows he's probably got a class win in hand and doesn't impede the 33 of Prentice. Prentice in the juniors, same as Jude Cole. Junior karts seem to favour the wet weather conditions. It really is an evener between our two-stroke classes. So it will be Jude Cole as he comes now through the final few bends. The checkered flag is out for the 77. Jude Cole wins, but Max Prentice spins on the outside of hairpin number 4. He'll still be 2nd in class, but on track and over the line, it's the 89 of Daniel Kell takes the win from Max Prentice. Comes through in 3rd, 2nd in class. So in the battle for that championship, Jude Cole beats Max Prentice in a junior kart 1-2. Daniel Kell is 1st in seniors, with Andy Ambrose down in 4th in that class as it stands. Bowker gets 2nd in seniors, with Swan in 3rd. So that will see Daniel Kell take his a maximum result for him for that race, and a 4th place for the 44 of Andy Ambrose. So the gap closing ever so slightly in the championship. Kell has outscored Ambrose by 7 points so far in our senior class. Next out on track will be our senior pro kart drivers, and for anybody that has not seen those before, those drivers are only allowed to race with slick tyres, and as you can see out there on screen, it is certainly not the weather for slick tyres. They will really come into their fore later on in the day as things dry out, and hopefully, and then this tomorrow with the weather conditions looking a lot more favourable than what they are today. So they will be out very, very shortly onto track. We'll see how many of those are back from round number 7 as we see the 52 of Paul Swan going over the weighbridge. The 22, that one is Will Young. Another one of our junior drivers, the 44 of Andy Ambrose, and the 90 of Stephen Kell. The number 4 is Ben Ficini, finishing that heat after his retirement from Heat 1 with his unfortunate mishap going over the curbs. As our senior class are out on track. The 43 is Connor Lucas, and behind him is the O-plate of Josh Folkus. These drivers will get 2 laps round, as have all the classes for their first heat, to familiarise themselves with the conditions in the circuit and to give the circuit the chance to make sure all the kart's transponders are working and picking up as they come round. So, 43 of Connor Lucas there, testing the conditions out by going a little bit too wide at hairpin number 4, getting himself wide and onto the grass. Looks like we're going to have around about 15 or 16 karts out for this first senior pro kart race. Your front row will be the 43 of Connor Lucas, and he will be alongside the O-plate of Josh Folkus. The 111 in the background there is Jake Brooker. Well, as all these karts come through to take up their position for their standing start, we'll run through who is with us and where they will be on the grid. 44 is Adam Wood, 19 is Nigel Richardson, 52 is Connor White, and the 183 is Alban Dowell. White and Richardson, 2 drivers who retired from the last race, so they should line up towards the back of the field this time as they come round. It will be the 43, your championship leader and champion-elect, Connor Lucas on the inside. Alongside him will be the O-plate of Josh Folkus. Second row will have Sam Harris on the inside of Jake Brooker. Then we have the 55 of David Brown and the 13 of Martin Black. 73 is Danielle Gardner. She lines up in 8th alongside Scott Tate in the 31. Row behind them has another one of our Tates. It's Mark Tate on the outside of Brandon Truman Reddish. 44, Adam Wood. 89 is Emma Brown. 52 is Connor White. Then we have Nigel Richardson and Alban Dowell, your senior pro kart drivers, as they line up for heat number 3, the final of our heats here for round number 7. We will then have our first of our finals, which will start with our Bambinos, where you will find Scarlett Dunn on pole position in the number 7 kart in the Bambinos. Drivers given the warning that the green flag is about to fly. Green flag is up, the green flag is down. It's a good start from the 43 of Connor Lucas. Josh Folkus takes a bit of curb and tries to get some traction, slots back into second place, dives down the inside though, as does Jake Brooker. So Connor Lucas has dropped back. Josh Folkus leads from Connor Lucas as they go over the curb, splashing through. It's Folkus from Lucas. Brooker is up to 3rd, Harris in 4th. Everybody tentatively makes their way through. Brooker drops back slightly as Connor Lucas goes to the inside and retakes the lead of heat number 3. So Lucas down the back straight into the lead from Folkus. Brooker to the inside of Harris. Harris goes right round the outside, sticks it out as our drivers make their way through the wet weather conditions on their slick tyres. A great start though, looks to be from the 55 of Brown. Him and Harris exchanging positions on a corner-by-corner basis as your 2 leaders come through to end lap 1. It's Connor Lucas from Josh Folkus. Sam Harris is in 3rd. Brooker drops away, was as high as 3rd earlier on in the lap, to see David Brown in 4th. Brandon Truman Reddish is 5th. Scott Tate is 6th. Jake Brooker 7th. Martin Black 8th. A contact warning for Brandon Truman Reddish in the 151. So and the same as well for the number 44 of Adam Wood on the opening lap of 10 here at the Teesside Autodrome in heat number 3 of Senior Pro Kart. Just a quick explanation of the colours next to our drivers' names. The drivers with the blue number next to them are our pro drivers. Those with the red number are our clubman drivers, and those with the green number are our over 40 drivers. So all 4 of our 40s drivers are running together in 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. So it's Mark Tate, Nigel Richardson, Adam Wood and Alban Dowell. So as looks like Brandon Truman Reddish has made a move on David Brown. He goes up to 4th, Brown in 5th. Tate is 6th with Mark Tate in 7th. Jake Brooker has dropped to 8th after quite a promising start for the youngster from Nottinghamshire in the 111, as we see him run wide round the outside there. Martin Black in the 13 dives down the inside, takes that 8th place away from Jake Brooker. So Martin Black is in 8th, Brooker down to 9th, as Brandon Truman Reddish goes down the inside of Sam Harris. Slows mid-corner, tries to enable a steady block pass, but it doesn't work as Harris gets the drive back down the inside. Could open the gap up for David Brown, but Truman Reddish back to the inside of round the South Bank corner. He is up to 3rd. A great effort so far from the 151 of Brandon Truman Reddish. So Connor Lucas comes through to open up the gap even more. 2.5 seconds for Connor Lucas in the lead. He's another one of our drivers that, should he take a heat and a final win here for round 7, will secure the championship. So it's Lucas from Falkers, Truman Reddish and then Tate, although Harris seems to have dropped back from 5th to behind David Brown in the 55. Mark Tate in the 31 on the back of those two. Differing lines. Harris goes to the inside. They'll cross over and the 55 of Brown will duck back to the inside. Harris will see if he can stick this right round the outside. It was a brave move, but he's ended up having to back out of that, and it could open the door up for Mark Tate in the background in the 81 to try a move. And we have a slight gap back then to Jake Brooker. 2.6 seconds was the gap last time as they come through. It's closed slightly, but it's only a 10th. So it's Lucas from Falkers. Personal best so for the pack as they follow Truman Reddish, Tate and Brown. Harris is 6th, Tate in 7th. That is the gap battle on screen there for 6th. Harris in the 974, although he's got 53 on the front because likes to confuse the commentator. Cheers for that, Sam. So he will now try to see if he can enact the same move that Brown did on him last time. He can't and has to put his focus behind him, see where Tate is for his move, but the gap is around about half a second. Field have spread itself out a bit as they come round. This time round will be half race distance for our leader, Connor Lucas. As you can see on the screen, the rain continuing to fall here at Teesside Autodrome for round number 7 of the NRG Cycles Owner-Driver Sprint Series. So Lucas leads. The gap is closing every lap, but it's only a 10th, and it could do with being 2 or 3 a lap should Josh Falkers wish to get onto the back of Connor Lucas. Lucas steadily managing the gap at the front of the pack. A battle that we need to look for further down the field is 11th and 12th, Connor White and Danielle Gardner, as those two battle over the clubman title, which is currently swinging in the favour of Danielle Gardner. There's a gap in that championship back to Brandon Truman Reddish, but he's going to take a huge chunk of points from should he keep it going in third place, although he's coming under increased pressure now by the 31 of Scott Tate, who's closed up by over a second in the last lap or so. So Tate's obviously found somewhere on track where he can find some grip as David Brown and Sam Harris argue about track position. The argument won on this occasion by David Brown, but it doesn't look like that Sam Harris is going to give up the battle anytime soon with 4 laps remaining. The drivers make their way round the south bank, around the National Loop corner at the top end of the circuit. Round hairpin number 1, they will then cut back for hairpin number 2 before they get a little bit of respite as they go onto the back straight. Truman Reddish in the 151 with the orange helmet, coming under pressure then from Scott Tate in the 31 behind him. 4 drivers running pretty much of an equal distance apart in Reddish, Tate, Brown and Harris. Mark Tate has dropped away slightly from the back of that. Jake Brooker in 8th is with Nigel Richardson. Then we've got a gap back to the 13 of Martin Black. He's coming under pressure from the 52 of Connor White. The gap has closed up quite a lot compared to what the timing screen says. There's a personal best for Brandon Truman Reddish with a 1:07.2. Just to give an idea of the normal lap times, that's around about 15 or 16 seconds slower than dry weather conditions for our senior pro kart drivers as they paddle around with their slick tyres on. 3 remaining for our leader, Brandon Truman Reddish there in the 151, class leader of our clubmans. Mark Tate in the 81, class leader of our 40s class. 4 drivers in that were running together have spread themselves out compared to where they were earlier. But as it stands, it will be Connor Lucas taking another 50 points for his win from Josh Folkus in second, and that would mean that Connor Lucas just needs a win in the next race, which will be our final, and then there will be absolutely nothing that Josh Folkus can do. He's put up a good battle this season, which has seen him take a clean sweep at round number 6, put an end to a superb run of 20 consecutive victories prior to that by the 43 of Connor Lucas. And those are the only 2 drivers this season that have picked up victories in our senior pro kart class. As we see, that's one of the Tates going down the back straight. That's Scott Tate in 4th, and looks like he hasn't been able to close the gap on Brandon Truman Reddish, but he certainly closed the gap on Josh Folkus in front, who goes sideways round that corner. I'm not sure whether the weather conditions have worsened ever so slightly, but Josh Folkus has had a fairly treacherous last lap. Truman Reddish has closed with at least 1.8 seconds onto the back. Folkus has 1 lap remaining to hold on to his second place, but he's all over the shop and flapping around in the air on his left engine is his chain guard. Looks like he's having all sorts of problems in the O-plate. He's certainly a lot slower than what he was as he bounces himself over the curbs. You see there the plastic strip flapping around in the air. I mean, that alone isn't going to have caused him to have dropped 1.8 seconds as he cuts very, very wide. Was looking to cut back down the inside of Brandon Truman Reddish, but found Scott Tate in the way, ruining the cutback. He's eventually got it with a lot of traction gained on the outside of that corner, but the 4 drivers now battling it out for second place. Truman Reddish is through into second. The leader is well out of the way in this contact between Truman Reddish and Josh Folkus. On the outside, Truman Reddish spun round, arm up in the air because he's not happy with the move. It's played into the hands though of Scott Tate. Connor Lucas is through and has taken the checkered flag. All the action though behind him. Sees Tate come through for second. Focus is third, having taken a cone out on the way to third. Brown is fourth. Harris is fifth. Tate sixth. Truman Reddish comes through in seventh. Disappointment for him at the end. It would have been second, but he came into contact with the O-plate of Fulkus. An aggressive move by Josh Fulkus down the inside, but in wet weather conditions, you've really got no idea as to what's going to happen with every kart around you. So another win, though, for Connor Lucas. He's got one hand on the championship trophy with 2 rounds remaining. A great result for him. Fulkus will pick up the points for third place, which will see him pick up 48 compared to the 50 points that would have been that were given for the winner. Disappointment, though, for Brandon Truman Reddish. Was on for a great points haul in his quest for the clubman title, but ends up with a 7th. Connor White was 10th, and Danielle Gardner was 11th. We'll sort those points out for those drivers and see how that fares. But Brandon Truman Reddish, the outsider when it comes to that championship battle for sure. But second place in that one really would have seen him jump up the standings with a good points haul. Unfortunately, not for him though on that occasion. So you see David Brown going over the weighbridge and Sam Harris. We'll be back in a few moments' time with the first of our finals, which will be our Bambinos. Don't go anywhere. So, welcome back. Before we get on to our Bambinos, we will inform you of a steward's decision from the last race. The O-plate of Josh Fulkus has received a 20-second penalty for his overly aggressive move on the inside of Brandon Truman Reddish, and that will see him drop away down the timing screen points-wise as well from his finishing berth of third place. So everybody else there will move up a place following that move. If it hadn't have been for the last lap and the checkered flag, we'd have almost certainly have seen the O-plate of Fulkus be shown the black flag for that move. So 20 seconds added to his time for what was deemed by the steward as an overly aggressive move down the inside of the 151 of Brandon Truman Reddish. Moving on though to the first of our finals, it is time for the Bambinos. Number 7, your pole sitter, and looking to carry out a clean sweep will be the number 7 of Scarlett Dunn. Behind her will be Oliver Sibbald, and then we'll have Thomas Potter. Dunn picking up some maximum points for so far in our Bambinos for round number 7 as she battles for the championship here at Teesside. Looks like Harrison Dunn is being rolled back into his 8th place starting berth. Parents being marshalled now away from the starting grid, having lifted up the back of those carts to give the little Commerce C50 engines a little bit of temperature. As the number 7 of Scarlett Dunn gets us underway in the first of our finals here today. She'll be followed by the number 44 of Oliver Sibbald and the 22 of Thomas Potter. 66 is Edward Rye, and he's followed away by another one of our championship protagonists, the number 44 of Edward Haynes. 69 is Riley Buckton-Young in the red, white and blue cart. The 88 of Ollie Carter, and the final one making the start is the number 8 of Harrison Dunn. 8 drivers signed on for our Bambinos as we follow the 7 of Scarlett Dunn round the bottom South Bank corner and into hairpin number 3 for the first time. We'll keep an eye out for their opening lap times, see how they've got themselves off the line. Weather conditions here at Teesside, not exactly ideal for racing, but nevertheless we shall continue, and we will go straight from round number 7 into round number 8, so get yourself prepped for that one. We'll start with a qualifying session for each of our classes, which will set the grids for round number 8. Just having a quick look on the weather radar, which suggests that the band of rain that is currently with us is moving its way southwards. The top of that was this morning when we arrived was towards the Edinburgh area. It's just north now of Newcastle upon Tyne, so with any luck for around about lunchtime it will have moved south of Middlesbrough, and we can the carts can start the process of drying out the circuit for us here at the Teesside Autodrome, running on the national circuit as always that we use for the sprint series. The international track is a lot longer and goes down the bottom end of the complex here at Teesside, but the national loop gives us a more condensed grid and keeps the racing a lot closer when it comes to the 4 classes that have the start grids where they go off in together. Bambino's running to a time trial format for this season at the very least. I think they'll be moving to a race format possibly next season, which will see them race side by side off the line as all of our other classes do. But at the moment it's a time trial format, drivers set on their way at 2-second intervals, and they then run for the overall time, and the driver with the fastest cumulative time of their number of laps is deemed the winner. As we see Riley Buckton-Young swerving his way through the chicanes, drivers with a number of lines through there, either dodging the puddles or just because they like going left and right. Scarlett Dunn though leads out at the front as Riley Buckton-Young takes a very wide line onto the back straight, gets himself onto the concrete rumble strip, bounces his way over that and finds the tarmac once again as he goes down the back straight and round the south banked corner. So we do have Scarlett Dunn out at the head of the field from Oliver Sibbald. Thomas Potter is 3rd, Edward Haynes in 4th. Riley Buckton-Young is 5th with Edward Rye in 6th. Ollie Carter is 7th. Harrison Dunn in 8th. Let's see when they come over the line this time whether Buckton-Young bouncing over that rumble strip means that Edward Rye will have closed the gap to him. It doesn't. In fact, it's I think the gap is a little bit further than what it was before between those two. So maybe young Riley in the number 69 has found where all the grip is. Maybe it's out there on the rumble strip on the outside of hairpin number 2. Back towards the head of the field with 3 minutes and 20 remaining of our Bambino final. It's Scarlett Dunn with a 5-second lead from Oliver Sibbald, as we see the 66 of Edward Rye go for a spin on the outside of hairpin 2. The yellow flag is out and then quickly away again as Edward gets himself facing in the right direction and plants the right foot onto the throttle and is away down the back straight. as the 88 does an almost identical spin, but this time keeps himself going, keeps the foot planted. A superb 360-degree effort there by the 88 of Ollie Carter. 2 minutes and 35 seconds remaining as Riley Buckton-Young goes up to 4th. Edward Haynes down to 5th. Haynes certainly not enjoying the wet weather conditions. We always find him towards the front of the pack when it's dry. But one of our youngest drivers in our Bambino class turned, I think he was, when he made his debut earlier in the season, was 5 years old. So one of our younger drivers. So a few more years for him to get his hands onto the championship trophy if he can't do it this year. The two drivers that he's battling for that title, one on screen now, the number 7 of Scarlett Dunn, and these wet weather conditions certainly playing into the hands of Scarlett, one of our drivers that will move up to cadets next season, already testing an IARMI Bambino with a little bit more power to get herself ready, and she'll move up to cadets in due course, as will the 22 of Thomas Potter, our current championship leader. He will be moving up to cadets as well, and he's had a couple of practice sessions out there in his cadets, following the lead of his sister Catherine in her cadet. Those two will be racing together alongside each other in the cadet class next season. We have 1 minute and 5 seconds remaining of our final as Ollie Carter spins on the inside and is stationary on the inside. Looks like the engine could have stalled on that kart. He's not moving on the inside of hairpin 3. Marshall goes over to help him as Scarlett Dunn goes past him, and I can see now out of the commentary box window Ollie Carter has got himself moving again, so everybody back running as they should be. Scarlett Dunn leads and has 3/4 of a lap. She goes through the chicanes for the final time. Catches the puddles there. We've got some standing water on the inside of that first hairpin. The puddles of standing water, in some cases, increasing slightly, but nowhere near as bad as what it was when it caused the postponement of the original round 7 at the back end of October. As Scarlett goes round the South Bank corner for the final time into hairpin number 3. Carries the speed right round the outside to find the grip. She'll go to the outside of hairpin number 4. Comes out there now. Accelerates, and it's 2 brief corners. She'll come through to take the checkered flag. 3 heats and a final for the number 7 of Scarlett Dunn. A superb round 7 for the Aircliffe racer. She is through to take the victory. Oliver Sibbald is second in the number 4. 22 of Thomas Potter comes through on track, but a superb last lap sees Potter go up to second. A 1:12.124, fastest lap of the race, sees Potter pip Sibbald at the death for second place. The 88 of Carter comes through after an eventful race which saw him spin a few times. He comes through in 7th to take the checkered flag. He's 1 lap down, so won't need to do another lap. Riley Buckton-Young comes through in 4th. Personal best for him in the race of a 1:13.718. We'll see whether Edward Haynes can come through, but the gap seems to be quite a big one back, so I don't think he's going to improve. He doesn't. He comes through in 5th. So the drivers in the championship mix. Scarlett Dunn wins, Thomas Potter in 2nd, Edward Haynes in 5th. So that sees Scarlett Dunn maximum score. Round number 7 with 215 points. Junior Pro Karts are lining themselves up for their final as we watch our Bambinos come over the weighbridge. The number 7, Scarlett Dunn, your race winner. that on screen there is the in the background. You can see our junior pro kart drivers getting themselves ready for their final as the 69 of Riley Buckton Young gets himself up and over the weighbridge. Couple more drivers still to come through. The 44 of Edward Haynes. And we should have Harrison Dunn to come through, and I think Edward Rye in the 66, and that'll be all our Bambino drivers through and over the weighbridge. All of our karts here today have to adhere to a minimum weight limit. Bambino's is 69 kilos for the youngest of our drivers. Bambino's aged between 5 and 8 years old. Out in the background, our junior pro karts, they are drivers aged between 12 and 16. We also have our cadets, they'll be out afterwards, so they're drivers bridging the gap between the two. That's 8 to 12 years old for our cadet drivers. So, and then we've got our two open classes in two-stroke and senior pro kart. Classes for everybody here at Teesside Karting as the championship comes towards its conclusion. We have round 7 today, round 8 this afternoon, and then round 9 tomorrow. But that isn't the end of the action here. An event's run by Teesside Karting. The Winter Series begins in December on the Sunday the 8th at Warden Law. Then we're back here at Teesside on the 29th of December, in between Christmas and New Year. And then round number 3 of the Winter Series will take place at the Paul Fletcher International Circuit in Lincolnshire on the 26th of January. So no rest up in the action for our drivers here in the Teesside Championship. So plenty more to come after the end of the summer season, and the Winter Series is the perfect place to get yourself familiarised with the series and get yourself ready for the 2020 summer season here at Teesside Karting. So as the grid forms up on the inside is the 38 of Aaron Alexander. He knows what he's got to do. He's got to just keep his foot down and get to the front. If he sees the checkered flag first, he's going to be the 2019 Junior Pro Kart Teesside champion. On the outside of him, the 24 of Jack Morris. 15 is Asher Blythe. Then alongside him is the 14 of Kieran Lambert. Row 3 is Owen Spears and the 13 of Callum Booth. Then we've got Mason Barker and Thomas Braid on row 4. Sandro Ballesteros, Benjamin Hogarth and the 42 of Jacob O'Connor, who retired from the last one with a missing wheel. That's been reattached. So all of our drivers on the grid. Green flag is in the air. Green flag is down. It's a great start on the inside by Alexander. Not so much so, though, by Morris, but it looks like he's going to hold on to second place. Spears, though, is round from contact as a few of our drivers are up and over the curb. So once they've sorted themselves out, we'll see if we can have a run through as to where we are. But it looks like it's business as usual out at the front for the 38 of Aaron Alexander as Callum Booth bounces his way over the curbs. He's made a fantastic start on the opening lap. Moves well up the grid. As we see him go down the back straight. Pulls a good and looks like Kieran Lambert has slowed on the outside. Don't know whether he caught a puddle and got his wheel on the grass, but it certainly slowed and impeded him a little bit. But Aaron Alexander is out the front and on his way, 10 laps away from a championship trophy, which will be his second of the season to add to his Shennington title that he won at the start of October. So Alexander leads from Morris, Booth in third, Blythe fourth, Braid is fifth from Barker in sixth, Ballesteros seventh, Lambert eighth, Spears in ninth, Hogarth 10th. Once again, it looks like we're not picking up the 42 of Jacob O'Connor on the timing screen. Certainly the timing screen at home. I'm not sure whether he's being picked up on the circuit one. Let's have a quick look as to see what's happening on the He's certainly not there on the timing screen either that we've got as we watch our drivers come through. Owen Spears trying to recover from his opening lap spin and close the gap. At the moment, though, that is the 42 in the orange helmet. He's battling with the 19 of Sandro Ballesteros, so that's a battle for 7th. O'Connor's going to go right round the outside. Superb. He's found some grip there, so that looks now that we've got O'Connor up to 7th. Although he's hampered on the way out of that corner, and Ballesteros is back through. So those two battling for 7th. Spears is up to 8th and now already onto the back of these two as he recovers. In the background we have Lambert and Hogarth. So your 10 drivers. Ballesteros, I'm not sure what setup he's got on that kart, but it's certainly inducing a lot of sideways action for the driver of the green number 19 kart. Spears goes to the inside. O'Connor, though, cuts back and will have the inside line as they go to the South Bank corner. So O'Connor sticks to the inside and Spears has to back out and lives to battle for another corner. Will then come to the inside again for hairpin number 3. O'Connor, though, we know he's good round the outside of there as he overtook Ballesteros there on the previous lap. Will then cut back to the inside. Spears eases off the throttle halfway round the corner. Steady little block pass for the 17 and he's through past the number 42 of Jacob O'Connor. Out at the front, Aaron Alexander once again leads the way from Jack Morris. Those two are well on their way out in front with Callum Booth 5 seconds back. There we see Morris going round the banked corner at the bottom end of the circuit. The cameras certainly don't do the bank on that corner the justice it deserves, especially as you get up towards the top end of it. You can see in the background there the gravel and how much higher that goes. Gives you an idea of the angle of the banked corner of the South Bank. Battle for 3rd on screen is Callum Booth. At the front, he's being chased by Asher Blythe, who was 3rd in the last heat. Grid's obviously reset for the final, with points earned for our drivers from their 3 heats to take their final positions. As Spears and Ballesteros change places in 7th and 8th in the further down the field. Asher Blythe cuts to the inside, see if he can use a different line. There's a puddle certainly on the outside of that corner. I think it caught Lambert out earlier on in the race. He is subsequently pitted from 10th place and is shown as 2 laps down. As Asher Blythe comes round the inside there of that corner, he's got a lot of speed. I think he's going to try now see if he can stick it on the outside and then cut back to the inside. Get the undercut on to Callum Booth. Certainly got a bit more pace, but Booth holds firm for 3rd place as we reach half race distance in this Junior Pro Kart final. Puddle increasing on the inside of that corner. The rain is relentless here at Teesside and has been since around about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. So the rain that caused the abandonment of the last meeting has made an ironic return. The Lord works in mysterious ways as Asher Blythe closes the gap a lot to the back of Callum Booth. Not enough though to stick his nose down the inside, and the door is closed by Booth. Well, now see if we can. He's a lot closer in these last couple of laps. Let's see if he can stick it right round the outside, but we'll have to come back to that one as we have Aaron Alexander going round the curbs. It is still Booth in 3rd as they come over the line. Alexander, though, out in front by 3.5 seconds and has 4 laps remaining as Thomas Braid sets a personal best of a 1:01.522. Owen Spears is running in 7th. Ballesteros 8th. We then have Jacob O'Connor, not shown on the timing screen, but in 9th on track. And then Ben Hogarth The gap looks like Booth has found a couple of tenths and has opened that gap up, and will have a bit of breathing space on him for the next lap or so as he comes round. So these two, a little game of cat and mouse between the 13 of Booth and the 15th of Blythe. Blythe seems to close the gap, then Booth seems to eke it out a little bit more, and then Blythe will close the gap again. So there's 6 tenths between those two, and certainly at the moment Blythe seems to be a little bit quicker but can't find his way through. Booth driving very maturely and holding firm, running his own race and making Asher Blythe work. And if Blythe is to get through to take 3rd place and the trophy for the final step on the podium, he is certainly going to have to work for it, because Callum Booth is not going to give up that trophy easily. In 5th, though, the battle behind them is between Mason Barker, who has finally got his way past the 12 of Thomas Braid. Took him a couple of laps, but he's up to 5th. But it looks like his championship battle is going to end here at round number 7. The weather conditions certainly going against Mason Barker. When it's dry, it's certainly nose to tail for him and Aaron Alexander, and it's been an enthralling battle throughout the season for those two drivers. Certainly in the dry, at times it's been close. At times it's been too close. There's been a little bit of contact between those two as they've battled all season for the Teesside Championship. 1.5 laps remaining for our race leader. We catch the battle for 3rd place, and it's still Callum Booth, and he's got around about half a second, which is about 10 kart lengths, if that, probably 5 as they close up round the South Bank corner. But as we come onto our last lap, we are going to follow round on what could be a victory lap, not only for this race but for the championship, for the 38 of Aaron Alexander. Round hairpin number 1. We'll then go round hairpin number 2. A driver, he cuts to the inside. We see a lot of drivers going round the outside there, but he's confident enough with the gap that he's got. Back to Jack Morris that he can take the inside line and not have much of a problem. Half a lap, he's got 3 full corners remaining. That's the first one out of the way. That's the second one out of the way. Round hairpin number 4. It was Shennington a few weeks ago where he won the first Junior Pro Kart Championship of the season. He's going to add Teesside to it this time. Over the line, takes the checkered flag, and Aaron Alexander is the 2019 Teesside Junior Pro Kart Champion. Jack Morris comes through in second to take the checkered flag. The battle for 3rd is still going out on track, and it will be Callum Booth to come through to take the final trophy of round number 7 from Asher Blythe. Mason Barker is 5th, and he will be through very, very shortly. On the final lap, though, Owen Spears has got himself past Thomas Braid for 6th. So Spears is 6th, Braid is 7th. Then we're going to have Jacob O'Connor come through on track in 8th. Not shown on the timing screen there. So O'Connor comes through in 8th. We'll have Ballesteros come through in 9th. So as all of our drivers come through, that just leaves me at the end of Junior Pro Kart to congratulate our 2019 champion. He's been difficult to beat all season. Unbeatable in the championship now is the number 38 of Aaron Alexander. He will come over and stop on the weighbridge. There he is. There is your 2019 champion. The 24, Jack Morris, a superb 2nd place. And coming through in a few moments to round off, that's the 68 of Hogarth and the 15th of Asher Blythe. That is the number 13 of Callum Booth. He is your final podium finisher for round 7 in Junior Pro Kart, picking up the trophy for 3rd place. But your champion and race winner, a maximum score for round number 7, was Aaron Alexander, and there's nothing now that Mason Barker can do in that championship. In the background, getting themselves ready to go out onto the track, is our cadet drivers for their final, and there's another championship up for grabs in cadet. The number 66 pole sitter, Oliver Buckton, just needs to bring the kart round and see the checkered flag and think anywhere in the top 10, and that guarantees him the championship as well. The other driver that would have been really in the mix for that one was the number 99 of Alex Mallard, but we mentioned earlier he was a driver that was going to miss the rest of the season. To be honest, I don't blame him. He's the tallest 12-year-old I have ever seen, and it was getting to a point where he was struggling to fit into the cadet kart. So he has got himself a Junior Pro Kart, which he's been practicing in, and you will see him take up his position on the Junior Pro Kart grid next season. We'll see how he goes, but I have absolutely no doubt that he will be battling towards the front end of the Junior Pro Kart grid. Thank you for joining us here today, either on YouTube or via the Facebook page at Teesside Karting. Please leave your comments on the live stream on either platform, and we will have a look through those as the day goes on. Also, whilst we have a little bit of downtime as the cadets get themselves gridded up, if you are with us on YouTube, round number 8 can be found on a different link at Alpha Live, so please feel free to find that for later on in the day, and we will be with you for round number 8 in around about an hour's time. We have a short break after our Senior Pro Kart final, where we will have our driver briefing for round number 8 for our drivers that are signed on for that round. And then we will be back with qualifying. So once Senior Pro Kart final is out of the way, I will give you a quick idea of what time we shall be back for our qualifying session for all of our classes. The grid is now in its position with a front row of Oliver Buckton on the inside and Gracie Mitchell on the outside. Start line marshal, suitably attired for the wet weather conditions. Green flag is in the air, the green flag is down.
Cheers, guys.
Apologies if the picture on the live stream has just gone a little bit awry or froze for a short while. It's not entirely sure, in all honesty, whether we're back with you or not, but we're going to carry on regardless and see what happens. Now at the front of the pack, it is Oliver Buckton leading the way from the number 11 of Gracie Mitchell. Catherine Potter and then Bella Franklin running in 4th. Charlie Wyatt is in 5th. about a second back to Mitchell. Mitchell's gap is being closed then by